We're bringing it down here.
Can we give Kenton the free trip to fall weekend?
We'll talk about it, yeah. Anyways, my name is Courtney, you guys, and if you haven't met me yet. And so tonight I just want to start off by kind of telling you guys a story, and it's not one of my best stories, not by how I'm going to tell it, but actually how it makes me look. It's kind of embarrassing, but I'm going to tell it anyways, so don't judge me afterwards. But anyways, so as you probably know, I go to Longwood University, and I'm a communication studies major. And because of this, being a communication studies major, I have to do a lot of group projects, okay? And let me just see a show of hands, who actually likes group projects? 2 people, okay, that should, I hate group projects, despise group projects. So it's kind of hard for me being a communication studies major. Anyway, so sophomore year, I'm in a group project. And we do the presentation, and the teacher loves it. You could tell, and you just know that a teacher really likes it. She's smiling. She's, giving you like the wink, like you are getting an A. You know what I'm saying? And then the class is like really even, like they're not falling asleep. They're paying attention. So we were like, we definitely see an A in our future on this. And then we actually read the syllabus after the presentation, and we realized we did not do half the project. We did not do the whole paper part of the project. So me and this other girl meet in the library, and we're throwing this puppy together. It's at least fresh in our minds because we just did this presentation. So we threw it together. No one else can meet from our group because we're trying to do this last minute, trying to get it in for the timeline. And so we send it in. We're like, hey, that's probably pretty good, best we got, And then, to our great surprise, we received a very strongly worded email from the professor. And she pretty much called us out. She was like, hey, P.S. you didn't cite anything. There's no sources in this. So pretty much you plagiarized the whole paper. Great job. You're going to honor board. And honor board is not good. It's kind of like going to Dean Cardin's office. No one wants to go there. And when you come out of there, you're coming out of there with lots of consequences. And so anyways, the other girl who was writing the paper with me in the library, she was freaking out. She went to his professor's office, and she's crying. And she's like, you can't send us to honor board. We really didn't know. All this stuff. And so the teacher was like, you guys are good students. I'm actually going to let you go this time. You don't have to go to honor board. And so this teacher kind of gave us a little grace period here, which was very nice. Even though, we did something wrong, the teacher let us off, which was really nice, and it kind of reminds me of a story that I've read here in the Bible. And so I'm just going to go to that. I'm going to start reading and show you here. It says, Jesus returned to the Mount of Olives, but early the next morning he was back again at the temple. A crowd soon gathered, and he sat down and taught them. As he was speaking, the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery. They put her in front of the crowd. Okay, so just to get this straight, so Jesus is Jewish right now, so he's going to the temple. He hangs out there a lot. That's kind of his hot spot. He's always in the temple. So people know to go there. That's where you're going to find Jesus. So they go there and they gather and they listen to him speak a lot because he has just some great things to say. And so that's just setting the scene here. And then it says, the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees brought a woman. Okay, break this down, Pharisees. Who are the Pharisees? It's a confusing word. The Pharisees are just these Jewish community leaders, and they're the people who implement the laws back in this time. So you can kind of maybe think of them a little metaphorically as religious police officers almost, you know what I'm saying? So just think of them like that. And then you have, it says, they brought this woman in who had been caught in the act of adultery. Just to break down adultery, it's just like cheating in today's world. So we can just think what she did there. So going on with the story. They say, teacher, they said to Jesus, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say? They were trying to trap him into saying something they could use against him, but Jesus stooped down and wrote in the dust with his finger. They kept demanding an answer, and he stood up and said, all right, but let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone. Then he stooped down again and wrote in the dust. Okay, so these teachers of the law and these religious leaders, and they know all the laws. And so the Old Testament, or the law of Moses, they know that this lady committed adultery and she's supposed to be stoned. Okay, and stoned is exactly what it sounds like, So this person who is guilty is going to stand in the middle of a circle, or even on maybe a little podium, and people are going to gather around, and like a big crowd gathering, and they're going to throw stones at her. And it's not like these little decorative pebbles that you have in your front yard, okay? These are like literal stones. And so it's not that great of a punishment. It's really horrible, it's really painful, and stuff like that. So then Jesus starts doing something weird here, okay? He starts writing in the dust. And to me, when I'm reading this, I'm like, Jesus, you're kind of building up the suspense here, you know what I'm talking about? Like, I just want to know what your answer is. Say what you got to say. Stop doing some weird stuff in the sand here. But then I realized, what is Jesus doing? Like, I really think that he's just, taking that attention off this woman. Like, this woman is obviously really embarrassed, like, really hurt with the situation. He's just, like, taking all this attention off of her and onto himself. The Pharisees are probably like, what are you doing, Jesus? And so then he answers, all right, but let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone. So if I was in this group of people, I would have been like, okay, peace, Jesus. I've already sinned 10 times today. I'm just going to go home. I wouldn't even have to think about it for a second. But who knows? Let's see what these people do. So it says, when the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest, until only Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with the woman. Then Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, where are your accusers? Did even one of them condemn you? No, Lord, she said. And Jesus said, neither do I. Go and sin no more. So here are these leaders in their church and these spiritual guidance people, and they are even sinners. They're leaving. They know that they've committed sins. They can't stand there and stone this woman. And so it's only left with Jesus and this woman in the room. That's the picture that we're ended here with. And so this woman is literally in the worst situation ever. She is totally embarrassed. Who wants to walk into a room and just have your sin broadcast to the whole room? Hey, Courtney plagiarized her paper. I'd be like, oh my gosh, it's really embarrassing, number one. And then she's totally hopeless. If Jesus wasn't there, she was probably walking into this room thinking I'm going to be stoned and I'm probably going to die. So there's really no hope for her. It's not a good outlook when she's walking into the room. She's hopeless and just broken right now. And so you're probably thinking, okay, how does this apply to me? I don't have a husband or a wife. I can't commit adultery. Stoning is not legal anymore, so that's definitely not going to happen to me. So, where do we go from here? But I think this really does apply to our life, because I feel at one point or another we have all been broken down, or we have all been hopeless. And in the last sentence of this, it said, neither do I. Go and sin no more. And so that's really what I just want to focus on here is sin. And this woman was a sinner, and I'm going to talk more about what that definition of sin is. And because it's not just an easy definition that you can give. It's not one you can look up on Webster's. The sin is the act of being separated from your source of life. And for me, my source of life is Jesus, or God. And sin is also when we willingly reject God. We're like, no, God, I don't want to do that, even though you're obviously telling me to do something. Or it's also maybe something that brings us farther away from God, continuously a little bit farther away each time we do that sin. And so, I'm sorry, let me get you a visual example of sin. Here we go. Okay, so obviously I have these two little groups of branches here, and they're obviously different. Now, I know we say usually don't judge, okay, but I'm asking you to judge. Judge these leaves, okay? These are some sad-looking leaves, okay? These are some sad-looking branches. I would say they are pretty hopeless right now. So I want you to think of this hand of leaves as just these sinners, and everyone knows they're sinners. People are calling them out. These people are the heroin addicts, okay? They are the people that don't talk to their families anymore. They are the people that steal. They are the people that you see on that show, what's the Intervention. Oh my gosh, they're so sad, but Intervention, they need one right here, these leaves, okay? So then you got those sad leaves over here. They're dead. They're crinkled, they are not even the right color anymore, you can hear the deadness, and so those are some sad leaves, okay? And then we have these happy leaves over here, okay? I don't know if you've noticed, they still have an issue, okay? They are not connected to a tree anymore, okay? So even though they're looking pretty bubbly, they're looking pretty preppy, they're looking pretty happy right now, these leaves, okay? But these leaves like have some maybe not smaller sins, but less noticeable sins that can be hidden from the outside of my perky little leaves. They're doing homework all night, and instead they just read, but they're not going to read their Bible. Or they just are not nice to their parents. They backtalk to their parents, like in private, or they sometimes do little white lies to their moms or dads, or they're just like really mean to their brothers or sisters. And so that's what this peppy little branch here is. I mean, doesn't it look kind of peppy? Okay. So that's what I like to say about it. But both of these branches, I'm sorry to say this, are kind of screwed. I'm not going to lie to you guys. Neither are connected to the tree. There's no hope for these branches anymore. This branch is going to look like this one in a few days. And maybe a few weeks, maybe a few years if it's really resilient, you know. But we're all getting to the same place here. This one, since it's not, neither of these are connected to the source of their life. So these branches are sinning. And so they are dead on the inside, even though this one looks alive on the outside. It kind of reminds me of this week where I have been super stressed out. I have 2 tests this week, preparing this talk for you guys, all this stuff going away this weekend, and just everything's piling up, and I just have not been focusing on God, and it's been separating me from Him. And someone came up to me and they were like, "Courtney, you just look so put together, you are just great," and on the inside I'm like, I do not have this together right now. Like, I am so not on point right now. But you know, I can put on my little cardigan in the morning and put on some makeup and make it look like it, just like this little branch right here. But I want to go back to the Bible, and I want to go to Romans. And it says here in Romans 3:23, "For all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God." So both of these branches are sinning, all of us. It's not just me who is a sinner. It's not just someone at Fuqua who, like one person at Fuqua. It's not just one person in your homeroom class who's a sinner. It says that all of us have fallen short of the glory of God. And so, like, sin is like this disease that just infects kind of all of us. Like, there's no way of getting away from it. So, I'm sorry for all this bad news. It's not really like a happy, awesome message, you know what I'm talking about. So I don't want to prolong this bad news. I just want to kind of like get it out of the way. So I'm going to go back to Romans and tell you the second part here that it says about sin. And it's in Romans 6 this time. And it says, "For the wages of sin is death, but..." And so now you're probably pretty angry at me. You're like, "Hey, Courtney, you're telling me that we're all sinners. So great." And then it says, "For the wages of sin is death." So what I deserve for sin is death. Awesome. That sounds great. We're all in a happy mood now. Awesome. And so I know that's not the best news. But also in this verse, I want to point out that there is like nothing we can do to take away that wage. It's like, hey, the wages of sin is death. But if you go like do community service this weekend, it's not. So there's like nothing like we can do about like us personally. We can't like go pay someone some money and our sins be taken away. We can't go do something really nice for like a homeless shelter this weekend and all of our sins be taken away. But I do want to let you know, I want to read that again to you. It says, "For the wages of sin is death, but..." So it's a compound sentence here. There's something else coming after that but. And so I just want to let you know that there is someone that did do something for our sins. And I'm going to tell you about that next week, and it's the second part of the sentence, and I really hope you come back so I can tell you the happiness of this message and not just be a downer. And so please invite all your friends next week so they can hear about this happy message, they can hear about this second part of the sentence. And thank you guys for coming out tonight. I hope everyone stops by Flip Flop.
Thank you.